Standard counseling effectively addresses the internal, psychological mechanisms of recovery, but that clinical work is fragile when exposed to external, real-world instability. A person cannot focus on cognitive restructuring while facing an impending eviction. The pressure of practical needs, securing housing, finding healthcare, or resolving legal issues, can rapidly overwhelm an internal focus during a crisis. To protect the clinical work, providers use case management, also known as service coordination. This establishes a structural framework that binds the treatment program, the client, and outside community agencies together. The framework operates through 4 core administrative activities: coordinating client services, maintaining active links to the community, advocating on the client's behalf, and continuously evaluating their changing needs. Unmet practical needs are a primary driver of relapse and treatment dropout. Because the risk of dropout is so high in the face of these challenges, administrative coordination is a central component of treatment. Case management provides the administrative scaffolding that supports clinical work against real-world pressures. Service coordination officially begins the moment a theoretical treatment plan translates into physical, collaborative actions. This requires immediate administrative execution. The counselor initiates collaboration with referral for the program. At this stage, the single most critical task for this is clearly defining the operational boundaries, rules of conduct, the exact schedule of activities, financial costs, and specific factors that will affect the duration of care. This expectation setting extends outward, incorporating the client's significant others to manage how the treatment schedule will impact their shared daily lives. There is a practical necessity to this boundary setting. It prevents the confusion and surprises that often derail treatment progress later in the process. The counselor is procedurally required to mutually confirm and formally document that the client understands and agrees to these rules. Establishing these early expectations creates a predictable, safe container for the client before they transition into the broader care ecosystem. Navigating that ecosystem requires the counselor to possess proactive knowledge of the local community. A case manager builds a variety of working relationships, spanning housing programs, vocational services, the criminal justice system, and crisis advocacy groups. For every resource, the counselor must maintain specific intelligence. They need to know the organization's mission, its eligibility criteria, and the exact methodology required to access it. This demands the constant administrative upkeep of detailed resource directories to ensure clients are not sent to dead ends. This map shows a local care network. A break in these interconnected paths represents a structural service gap where community resources cannot meet a specific client need. When these gaps occur, the counselor takes an active role, helping the client navigate around fragmented and hard-to-enter bureaucratic systems. They also engage in advocacy, pushing for the development of new resources to fill those systemic voids. Proactive resource mapping transforms a point of friction, the phrase, "I don't know where to send you," into a concrete plan for the client. Clients in recovery usually receive concurrent services from several independent providers, including prescribers, primary care physicians, and probation officers. The counselor assumes the responsibility of acting as the central communication hub within this multidisciplinary team. Poor interagency coordination carries clinical risks. It generates contradictory messages, duplicates efforts, and causes dropped responsibilities that confuse the client. This matrix categorizes the models of case management based on intensity and clinical focus. The counselor selects the model that matches the client's specific needs. In the brokerage model, the system focuses on needs assessment and linking the client to external services. The strengths-based model leverages the client's existing personal assets to build self-direction and autonomy. The intensive model mandates small caseloads, providing frequent support for clients with complex needs. The clinical model integrates case management activities directly into the primary counseling relationship. Regardless of the model chosen, the foundational objective is synchronizing multi-agency care around the client's personal goals. Referral is a structured transition to external support systems. The process focuses on ensuring the client successfully connects with the intended resource. Creating a precise referral match requires respect for the client's specific cultural and lifestyle differences. It also demands administrative execution. using proper forms and technology to accurately collect, summarize, and securely transmit data. This bar chart shows the statistical odds of client follow-through. When the counselor actively makes the initial contact or personally introduces the client, follow-through rates increase compared to an isolated referral. However, this advocacy must remain strengths-based. The counselor avoids doing too much to prevent fostering long-term client dependence. The counselor balances preventing the client from being stranded in an emergency with the need for the client to develop their own skills. The warm handoff resolves urgent needs in the short term while building the client's capacity to navigate bureaucracies independently. Because a case manager moves sensitive data across agency lines, confidentiality is an ever-present legal concern. Under Federal Law 42 CFR Part 2, counselors must obtain specific written consent before disclosing any information that identifies a person as having a substance use disorder. This requires the counselor to track the scope, expiration dates, and non-redisclosure rules attached to every consent form. Working with justice-involved clients or multi-system services generates complex consent situations that require accurate documentation. While case management provides the scaffolding for recovery, the imperative to coordinate care never overrides the client's absolute legal right to confidentiality.